All right, Mike, thank you very much. 2 minutes in, tied at 2. A spirited beginning to Game 1 here at the Toyota Center. And a 3-second call going against the Jazz. Darren Williams just hit the floor hard, something he did last week, suffering not quite a bruised tailbone, a bruised backside, for lack of a better term, but he is in there. Houston, of course, without Yao Mingdoris. Also, at least for the first 2 games, without Rafer Alston, a pulled hamstring, so Bobby Jackson starting at the point for the Rockets.
Yeah, what is the difference between those 2 guys? Well, Rafer Alston, a lot better getting them into their sets, understanding their offense. They had a ton of continuity. There's Rafer. What do you get with Bobby Jackson? We get more of a combination guard, more of a guy who is looking to score. How effective Houston is on the offensive end will be interesting as this game wears on.
Good position inside for Battier, who's got both Houston buckets. The big storylines in this series, last year they met in the first round, and the Jazz beat the Rockets in Game 7 in this building to knock Houston out. The other big storyline, fairly or unfairly, locally and to a certain extent nationally, as Boozer knocks it down, is can Tracy McGrady lead a team into the second round, something he's not been able to do so far in his NBA career. What's your take on that?
I think he's taken an unfair amount of criticism. This league, Dan, is too good to win or lose with one guy. The reality is, up until last year for Tracy McGrady, his team was never favored. And last year was a 4-5 set. His numbers are better across the board, Dan, in the playoffs.
A look at the starting lineups tonight. Dikembe Mutombo, a key figure, hardly played the first 2/3 of the season, but became the starter after Yao Ming suffered the stress fracture. Scola comes up with a steal. He has had an outstanding rookie season for the Rockets. McGrady on the penetration.
Tracy McGrady has taken some criticism historically for being too jump shot happy. He can get to the rim anytime he wants. He's got great size, great vision, and great handle. And with his size, he's tough to guard close.
Another turnover. And Utah gets it right back. The Jazz winning the season series 2-1 from the Rockets, although it should be noted each team did win on the other's home floor. But Utah, the best home team in the NBA this year. Kirilenko, and it's blocked by McGrady. McGrady grimacing a little bit. Boozer comes up with a loose ball, and McGrady continues to be in some discomfort. Perhaps got poked in the eye. Looking at that reaction, you'll see he has his left shoulder, his non-shooting shoulder, padded, something that's been bothering him for a couple of weeks.
I think his shooting percentage reflective of that, but that is a major concern for Houston. Utah will offensively rebound as well as anybody in the league. You better check him out.
Kirilenko knocks it away. Boozer comes up with a loose ball, and Kirilenko will finish and get fouled. First on Battier.
Well, defensively, this is a physical, aggressive team. They will make some contact, and when they get strips and turn it into points, this is when they are at their best. We've seen Darren Williams get below the free throw line a couple times already tonight. They look very good to start the game on the offensive end.
These 2 teams from January the 1st through the end of the regular season were the 2 best teams in the NBA. Houston had the best record. Utah, somewhat quietly, had the 2nd best record in the league since January the 1st. The Rockets finished 55-27. The Jazz finished 54-28. McGrady misses the jumper. Rebound Boozer, one of 4 2010 players in the NBA this season.
If Utah figures out how to win on the road, they are going to be a very tough out.
Is 17-24 away from home this year. A great start for Kirilenko. So talented, so versatile. Already 5 points in the early going.
Well, at his best at 6'9", he's going to fill up a stat sheet. Steals, rebounds. He's an exceptional passer.
A 7-0 run for the Jazz. They're up 5 midway through the first quarter. What a sensational day of basketball it has already been, especially the San Antonio Phoenix game earlier today on ABC. Bobby Jackson, a midseason pickup in a deal from New Orleans, knocks down the 3.
That is where Coach Adelman would tell you he gets a little bit more from Bobby Jackson. The 3 ball is huge without Yao Ming for Houston.
Look at Darren Williams using screens off to Okur, a real threat from outside. Kirilenko with the high arcing pull-up, rebound McGrady. McGrady will do a lot of the ball handling no matter who the point guard is tonight. Led the team in assists this year. Look at Scola with a great move, but it slides off the back of the rim. Look at Scola hustling back. Battier ahead to Jackson.
That is Luis Scola at his best. His game is about hustle and effort and doing all the little things. I tell you what, you could tell in talking to Jerry Sloan today how much admiration he had for guys like Scola and Hayes because he brings toughness.
Carl Landry, a rookie who comes off the bench as well, gave them some very big minutes this year. The foul on Scola, his first. We got a good one going here in Houston. An 11-11 tie with Andrei Kirilenko stepping up with a couple of buckets in the early going. And the veteran Bobby Jackson answering with a three for the Rockets. Jackson lays it in, and we're tied in Houston. Rockets and Jazz tied at 11. As you have heard, and as he has heard often enough, Tracy McGrady has never been a part of a team that has gone beyond the first round of the playoffs. We asked McGrady this morning if he'd like to win a series just so people would stop talking about it.
It's not really even about shutting people up. I just want to advance. I don't care about, if they really look at what I do in the regular season and look what I do in the playoffs. I mean, don't just throw it all on me. I'm not out there by myself. I elevate my game. I elevate my game in the playoffs. I try to elevate my teammates and my team. So it's not just on me. Yeah, I'm 0-6, but I'm not out there by myself.
And Doris, the numbers back up what he says.
Yeah, there's no question. 28 points. And in Game 7 here last year, 28 points, 13 assists. I mean, he has done everything you could ask. And look at what he's done in the absence of Yao Ming this season. He has done a terrific job keeping Scola and Landry involved in the offense because you need better balance with Yao out of the lineup.
The Rockets really one of the remarkable stories in the NBA this year, that 22-game winning streak. The last 10 of which came after Yao was done for the season. Meanwhile, Andrei Kirilenko, at best really scoring option number 3 on this team, already has 7 points in the early going.
AK-47 brought plenty of bullets tonight.
Yes,
wow.
Usually he's more of a menace at the defensive end, getting in the passing lanes, blocking shots, but they're looking for a third scorer. He might be the guy. Jackson the miss, Okura the rebound. And here's Darren Williams, one of the budding superstars in the NBA. His third year, unquestionably one of the best point guards, not just young point guards, one of the best point guards in the league right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I think so much has been made of Chris Paul, and rightly so. What a terrific performance by him, but Darren has played as well as anyone at that position.
Let's check in with the third member of our team tonight, Heather Cox.
Dan, Tracy McGrady's playoff utility has certainly been well documented and well discussed. Now, despite the fact that, yes, he is 0-6 in the first round, he insists he feels less burdened by his playoff history now than he did a year ago, saying last season I singled myself out because I felt it was the first time I was favored to win a playoff series. I put all the pressure on me. I was the guy handling the ball 90% of the time. Now this season it's a much deeper team, and I'm not going to put that pressure on me this year. Dan, T-Mac certainly taking a different approach and hoping for a different result.
He certainly seems to be, Heather. When we visited with him this morning, seemed very relaxed. His scoring is quite a bit down from some of his previous years, but again, he is very comfortable distributing. You talked about him getting other guys involved and how well he played as they continued on that winning streak, even after the injury to Yao Ming. And you look at this series, although Houston has home court because of the absence of Yao, I think most people perceive the Rockets as an underdog in this series.
And I think they like that role in this particular series. And they are doing a pretty good job to start this game with Darren Williams. They want to make him a jump shooter. I know he's 40% from big three, but if you concede anything to him, you concede contested jump shots.
McGrady in the post with the shot clock at 7. And the foul on Ronnie Brewer, the young man, second year out of Arkansas, is going to have his hands full in this series. He will be the primary defender on Tracy McGrady. Well, here are the first-round exits for McGrady. The first one way back with Toronto in just his third year in the league. 3 times with Orlando and then twice with Houston. It should be noted that the Rockets as a franchise, as Battier lays it in, have not gotten out of the first round in their last 6 playoff series going back 10 years. So they were having some first-round trouble before McGrady got to Houston.
And I think what they've done, as you said, this year, they were on such a great roll with Yao, 22 points, 11 boards. They don't miss a beat for the first 10 games without him.
Boozer the miss, and the oldest player in the NBA, Dikembe Mutombo, brings down the rebound. He will turn 42 next month. A clear out from McGrady. Scola tries to come down with a rebound, but Paul Millsap in off the Jazz bench brings it down. A great energy and rebounding guy off Jerry Sloan's bench. Kirilenko. Boy, Andre Kirilenko and Shane Battier have been the two scorers so far in this game.
It's amazing. Kirilenko's not a guy who they run a lot of sets for. They don't run a lot of plays. He's just taking good advantage of getting out in transition and spotting up.
Kirilenko averaged 11 points per game this year. He's already got 9. What a pass. And a block from behind prevents Mutombo from laying it in, and it will be Utah ball. Millsap with the block. And a timeout on the floor as Mutombo protests the call. The visiting Jazz with a 2-point lead here in the first in Houston. Game 1, Utah and Houston, a 2-point lead for the Jazz. Jerry Sloan seemingly has been the coach of the Jazz forever, and he might well have been easily the longest tenured coach in the NBA. This is his 20th season as head coach of Utah. He's been to the finals twice. He's had only one losing season. That was in 2004-2005 from Stockton and Malone to Williams and Boozer, a team that won a division last year, a team that went to the Western Conference Finals a year ago, over 1,000 career wins. Old school.
Yes, but you could tell today as you see what he has done. Playoff wins 87. The mutual respect between Rick Adelman and Jerry Sloan. They were teammates once. Rick Adelman said, I once saw him take 3 charges in a game against Bob Lanier. I questioned the man's sanity to step in front of Bob Lanier.
And Jerry Sloan, a tremendous defensive player, made numerous NBA all-defensive teams during his playing days with Chicago. Shot clock didn't reset. Millsap senses it and lays it in. You talk about a guy who likes doing the dirty work. That's Paul Millsap out of Louisiana Tech, the same school that produced Karl Malone.
Well, this is a Utah team that's getting a lot done offensively without Darren Williams being especially effective.
Right.
They're offensive rebounding it terrifically.
Jackson with a tough 1-on-3 runner. Matt Harpering into the game for the Jazz. Chuck Hayes is in for Houston. Interesting to hear Rick Adelman tell us he's still got to feel out his rotation and the matchups. He really does not know at various positions who's going to get most of the minutes. Great offensive rebound by Brewer. And Utah just all over the glass right now, crushing the Rockets on the glass.
Yeah, what did Tracy McGrady tell us earlier today? We've got to hit them first. And Rick Adelman said we simply must match their physical nature. And one of the keys, you've got to finish defensive possessions with a defensive rebound, and they are not doing it right now. 7
offensive rebounds already for the Jazz. McGrady with a long 2, struggled with his shot over the last several weeks, down around 35%. Overall on the season of 42%. Darren Williams, 2 points, 2 assists in the early going. Boozer's got 6 for the Jazz. And Williams is fouled on his way to the rim. Foul on Chuck Hayes will send Williams to the line. Battier will sit down. Aaron Brooks is in for Bobby Jackson as well. Mike Harris has checked in, first-year player out of Rice. Houston going deep into its bench already as Williams steps to the line. A look at the NBA calendar playoff edition tomorrow. Game 1 action to coverage begins at noon Eastern on TNT, and it's Game 1 between the Raptors and Magic. Tip-off at 12:30, followed by Philadelphia at Detroit at 6 Eastern, and then Game 1 between Atlanta and Boston at 8:30 Eastern. Tomorrow, also, the Nuggets and Lakers Game 1 on ABC, with coverage beginning at 2:30 Eastern, tip-off at 3, and then Tuesday night NBA TV has Game 2 between Toronto and Orlando at 7:30 Eastern time.
Well, a special season got off to a very special start in the postseason. Wizards Cavs was terrific. LeBron James dunk in the second quarter was ridiculous.
Harris inside is fouled. Another good feed by McGrady, really looking for his teammates early. Well, if you missed some of the action today, you missed some outstanding stuff. The first game today between Cleveland and Washington. Cleveland winning by 7 in a game that was nip and tuck right down to the last minute or so. LeBron James with the dunk of the day, as you said, 32 points. The game of the day, well, this was an easy one. Double overtime game. What a game for Tim Duncan as San Antonio outlasted Phoenix. And then a terrific second half for Chris Paul and the Hornets to overcome a deficit and beat Dallas.
I think the questions about New Orleans may be answered with that round one or game one win. I think everybody questioned because, they're a young team. They haven't had playoff experience. Can they win? Well, they answered that to a certain degree today, understanding it's game one. But I'll tell you this, you question the sanity of anyone who's going to get LeBron James upset. There's that little exchange with Haywood.
Yep.
He scored 6 of his next 7 shots. He was extraordinary.
And there were games earlier this year, 2 of note, one in Portland and one in Toronto, as Millsap gets the bounce, where fans in courtside seats got in LeBron's grill, and he torched the Trailblazers and he torched the Raptors. Just let the man be.
Yes.
He's good enough as it is. Largest lead of the game for Utah. About a 5-second difference between the game clock and shot clock, winding down at the end of the first. Aaron Brooks from Oregon. Tough runner. Scola with the follow.
Oh, I love that guy. He just works so hard, Scola. And if you simply go by first-year guy, and I saw Jeff Van Gundy's, he said this should be the rookie of the year in the league. And everyone will probably vote Kevin Durant. But in terms of his impact on this franchise and the league, particularly in the competitive Western Conference, he makes a great case.
Had a great season, stepped up even larger after Yao Ming went out. It'll be Houston ball after the turnover with better than 3 seconds. They've got a lot of time to get a good shot off. Little spark here at the end of the quarter for the Rockets. Scola lays it up, and no good at the end of the quarter. Looking for the foul call that won't come. Tracy McGrady and the Rockets are down 5 to the Utah Jazz here in game one of this Western Conference first-round series. Heather Cox will visit with Utah head coach Jerry Sloan when we come back to the Toyota Center. It's the Jazz up early by 5.
Welcome back to Houston with Utah head coach Jerry Sloan. And coach, earlier you said a key tonight was defending Tracy McGrady. How have you done well against him? Where could you improve?
Well, we try to give as much help as we can and try not to get away from the other people. But we know who he is and what we're faced with if we don't try to help as much as we can.
Rebounds certainly jump off the stat page in this first quarter. How have you been able to gain such an advantage, especially offensively on the glass?
We don't take too many quick shots and try to run our offense and make them have to guard us.
Coach, thanks for your time.
Now the Utah Jazz up 7 in the rebounding department so far in Houston. Out-rebounded the Rockets in all 3 games doors during the regular season. Tracy McGrady, 4 points, maybe more notably 4 assists during the first quarter.
Well, he's got takeover ability in terms of his ability to score, but I think he has to get other guys involved, and that's where his mind is.
In and out for Carl Landry, the rookie out of Purdue, who hardly played the first half of the season. Kept playing so well in practice. Rick Adelman finally put him in, and he became a huge spark off the bench for the Rockets as Chuck Hayes is called for the foul on a Matt Hartbrink. It's an interesting unit the Rockets have out there right now. They've got Tracy McGrady, but other than him, Mike Harris, who played most of the year in China, Chuck Hayes, who didn't play much the second half of the season, Carl Landry, who's a rookie, and Aaron Brooks, who's a rookie. Harpering gets free and knocks down the 7-footer.
Well, you think about the adjustments Rick Adelman has had to make. He's played games without Yao, games without Tracy. And so now without Rafer, his question mark is at the guard spot. The other key for him is, can Landry and Scola be effective around the rim?
Hayes defended by Okor. Great pass, and the slam from McGrady on the feed from Hayes.
That was a sensational look and a nice cut by Tracy McGrady. Defender cuts out high above the free throw line. He goes right to the back door.
McGrady now with 6. Ronnie Price knocks down a 3. Darren Williams backup doesn't get to play all that often, but the third-year player out of Utah Valley State, undrafted out of college, knocks down a big shot for the Jazz. Hayes not really a scoring threat. Tough matchup here for Kyle Korver. And the foul on Price. And there's some of that toughness that the Jazz exhibit on a night-to-night basis.
Now, how about the read from Tracy McGrady and the find by Hayes? Just a solid little bounce pass. And that is perfect. Korver in no position to defend, and actually no backside help because everyone was above the free throw line. Good set by Houston.
McGrady goes out for the first time tonight. Luther Head has come back in. Shane Battier is back in as well. Brooks switches hands. Doesn't get the bounce, and the rebound to Millsap. He led Division I Doris in rebounding 3 consecutive years in college. Nobody else has ever done that.
You love his approach. Another Louisiana Tech guy, Carmelone. Millsap plays incredibly hard.
How about Korver sneaking inside? You think of him with the long-range jumper, but he banks one in off the glass.
Well, Utah is a team outside of Darren Williams. You got a lot of guys who use the system to get their shots.
Good start here for the Jazz. Their largest lead of the night, up 10 on the Rockets. They've made their first 3 shots here in the second quarter. Luther had a collegiate teammate of Darren Williams at Illinois. And was it touched? It was not. So it'll be a Houston turnover as Darren Williams comes right back on in for the Jazz. Rice out, Millsap out, and Rick Adelman wants a timeout as Utah has really come out and taken it to Houston here early in the second quarter. They actually took it to the Rockets right out of the gate. Andrei Kirilenko with 9 early points for the Jazz tonight, and Utah's now got a double-digit lead. All right, Jonesy, thank you. And back here at Houston, a 10-point lead for the Jazz over the Rockets as we check out the Wendy's quality matchup. And we look at the Western Conference where they are all quality matchups. What a game between the Spurs and Suns today with San Antonio winning in double overtime. New Orleans over Dallas in Game 1. Game 1 of the Lakers in Denver tomorrow, 3 Eastern. The coverage begins at 2:30 on ABC. And we're in the midst of Game 1 tonight here at Houston with Game 2 Monday night right back here at the Toyota Center.
Saw an NBA TV breakdown of the playoffs East-West. They had a shot of Kobe Bryant walking back to the locker room saying, "I'm not working with butter knives this year. Now we're going to see what's what."
He appears to be a man on a mission. We'll find out a little bit in Game 1 tomorrow against the Nuggets. Boy, you got to corral the rebound, and it cost the Rockets a couple of points as Matt Harpring lays it in.
It's their 8th offensive rebound, and right now by himself, Carlos Boozer is out rebounding the Rockets. That's an issue.
And Boozer isn't even in the game, hasn't played all that many minutes. A layup there for Chuck Hayes. He started roughly the first half of the season. Then as Scola came on and Landry developed, Hayes kind of went to number 3 on the depth chart. But they're going to need some minutes out of him because of all the size and physical play of the Jazz. Hayes defending a much bigger player in Okur, who gets yet another offensive rebound. And another rebound. This time it's Millsap. And this is the story of the game right now. 10 offensive rebounds for the Utah Jazz.
And believe me, this is nothing that the Rockets didn't come into this basketball game knowing with. So now you're coming back with more size with Dikembe and Scola.
The rebounding numbers overall, 17 to 5. Baseline drive, Luther head.
And this is a lineup that I'm sure Rick Adelman never envisioned prior to Rafer Alston's injury. But he is trying to figure things out as we go. A nice little drive by Luther Head, who he expected to get some time. Backs Korver away, and then the attack dribble to the baseline side. That was pretty.
And as mentioned, a collegiate teammate and a good buddy of Darren Williams at Illinois, along with D. Brown. As good a backcourt as there was in the country 3 years ago. Got all the way to the national championship game where they lost to North Carolina. This is a tough matchup here for Aaron Brooks on Darren Williams.
Interesting to see if they post Darren Williams at all.
And a pretty heady play there by Okur. Scola's upset, and maybe rightfully so, as he picked up the second. Okur initiated the contact on that play.
Now, this is something Scola struggled with early when he entered the league. How to defend. Now he's better. He doesn't get in foul trouble anymore, but you're absolutely right. I mean, I thought that was an offensive foul.
And Okur getting a little bit better at putting the ball on the floor, not just a standstill shooter from outside. Mutombo guarding Millsap. Millsap goes around and misses the layup, and here come the Rockets. Head steps into a 3. And I know I've said this before, but Millsap comes down with a rebound. If there's a loose ball on the floor, you got to want it to get it away from Millsap. Darren Williams uses the screen and knocks down the 15-footer.
He is a tough matchup because he's got more explosive ability than that body would suggest. He can make threes. He can go off the dribble.
not an all-star because of the depth of the point guard spot in the Western Conference. Looking back on that, kind of hard to believe, but maybe he used that for motivation. Had a sensational second half. Scola, the crowd screaming for a foul. Mutombo has it rejected. It'll stay with Houston. And the hometown fans are not happy with the officials right now.
When you play Utah, you can expect aggressive fouls. You are going to take some hits, and you better be prepared to dish it right back out. And Mutombo is frustrated because he has taken some contact in there.
Tough shot from the corner by McGrady. Scola's tap not good. Rebound Utah. Kirilenko back in for the Jazz. Had 9 points in the early going. Kirilenko open in the corner. The extra pass to the wide open Okur. And another offensive rebound, and Millsap is fouled. When that shot went up, Doris, he was out of bounds, out of the play. Got up and still got the rebound.
This is a relentless team. They are reflective of their coach, Jerry Sloan.
Rick Adelman not real happy with the way this game is being officiated right now. Foul was on the floor, so Utah inbounds. Korver, quick release.
Wow.
Catch and shoot, and Korver gives the Jazz a 13-point lead, their largest of the night.
Utah's missed 10 shots. They've taken 15 shots. They have 10 offensive rebounds. You're simply giving them too many possessions.
Scola hands it off to McGrady. He's going to try to take Korver. They double team. Jackson wide open for three. And Scola, which way is it going to go? It is a foul on Millsap. Now Jerry Sloan's not happy. Carlos Boozer will come back in. Millsap will go out, having given the Jazz some excellent minutes off the bench. 6 points and 5 rebounds already for Paul Millsap. The Rockets have gone cold. They've missed their last 6. Now Boozer called for the foul.
That's the third time Scola has reacted after a play. He has got to be careful with his emotions. He did it on the defensive end with Okur.
First playoff game, obviously, for him. A rookie, but a rookie in name only. This is a guy who played at the highest level in Spain for 7 years, won a gold medal for Argentina in the Olympics in 2004, and maybe most impressively in the FIBA's Americas tournament this past summer. Even though the USA won the gold, Scola was the MVP of the tournament. Jackson leaves it short. It'll stay with the Rockets.
Well, if you are a general manager in the NBA, you are loving the Argentinian players. I mean, look at the performance of Manu Ginobili again today. His ability to get to the rim and make big shots. This guy, a complete team player. They're unselfish. They're team-minded. They do anything to win. They're professional.
McGrady draws the foul on the inbounds and is grimacing again. Now holding his stomach, his midsection, as he goes down to a knee in pain. Mutombo giving him a pat on the back and urging McGrady to the foul line.
Well, Rick Adelman and Tua Man, his players, have talked about being able to match the physical nature. Watch it right there. There is the contact.
McGrady back on his feet and to the line. Visit NBA.com, where you can get ready for the 2008 playoffs right now at NBAStore.com. There you can find the best selection of team jerseys, hats, T-shirts, and more. NBAStore.com. Every team, one store. A couple of makes for McGrady. McGrady, Battier, Scola, Mutombo, and Jackson. The starting 5 back into the game for Rick Adelman. And the same can be said for Jerry Sloan. They both got their first units back in there. Boozer driving on to Mutombo and lays it in over top of him.
That is a nice use of the weak hand. And what does he do? He doesn't try to fight Mutombo in the box first. He takes him to 15 and he goes off the bounce. And he makes Mutombo move his feet laterally.
Well, Houston is keeping Mutombo away from Okur because he likes to shoot the 3. But Boozer driving on Mutombo. Mutombo stepped out of bounds, had a foot out of bounds when he caught that pass. A timeout on the floor. Utah leading by 13. Heather Cox in conversation with Yao Ming when we return. Here in Houston, the Rockets down 13 to Utah in Game 1. Wouldn't they love to have Yao Ming back? But out with a stress fracture in his foot. Missed the last 26 games of the regular season with that injury. One earlier with a respiratory infection. Look at how well the Rockets played in spite of Yao's absence. Pretty impressive stuff. He's standing by with Heather Cox.
Thanks so much, Dan. Certainly the Rockets would much rather see Yao Ming in a uniform than in a suit. But some good news for you, Yao. You're off of the crutches, just in the walking boot. How is the rehab going so far?
We're on a schedule. The last pictures we had on the bone skin is pretty good. They can't see the fracture line. So doctor said you can get rid of the crutches.
Certainly some good news. Now, you just returned home after being in Beijing for 10 days. What motivated you to go home during the season?
I think I need a break before I go harder. Obviously, my last few weeks, I'm doing the same thing every day. I'm a little bit mentally tired about this. I think it's good for me just return home before the playoffs.
And tonight you return to the bench. What type of advice have you been able to give your team tonight, especially in terms of the rebounding and the problems that you guys have had on the court so far?
Obviously we are the best rebound team in this league. And I believe that will be not long, not all night long. That will be, we will fix in the second half while the rebound problem. And when the rebound, we can continue to rebound again. We'll be in our hands.
Yeah, we certainly wish you a quick recovery. And Danielle, certainly hoping to get back onto the court in time for the Olympics in Beijing this August.
All right, Heather, and I think just about everybody in China, better than 1 billion people, hoping that Yao Ming is also healthy enough to play in the Olympics in Beijing. And, of course, Houston fans hoping for a full recovery and plenty of time for next season. While Heather was talking to Yao Ming, Tracy McGrady, a rebound, a bucket, a steal, and then a feed that led to a foul, sending Battier to the line and playing with a bit more of a sneer on his face here in the last couple of minutes. And maybe that's what he and the Rockets need to get back into this game.
Well, he's 3 for 3, 17 minutes. He doesn't have a rebound, but he's a guy who can upset other people. But I think his team needs him to be more aggressive on the offensive and making plays for himself.
Boozer misses the jam. Mutombo might have gotten a piece of it. McGrady trying to shake Brewer. Scola. Oh, he made that shot tougher than it was. He thought the man beside him was a Utah guy. He had a teammate right beside him. He had an easy layup but didn't know it. Williams, oh boy, Jackson right to the seat of his pants. Williams misses it, hollering for a foul, and back come the Rockets as the intensity picks up. Good matchup here. Kirilenko defending McGrady. It bounces to Jackson. Battier the offensive rebound. Scola leaves it short.
Multiple opportunities. They did a great job getting extra shots in that possession. Just can't come away. And this was a major concern for Rick Adelman. How do we put points on the board tonight?
Houston just 4 of 17 from the floor in the second quarter. Williams the lob down to Boozer. What a tandem these two have become the last couple of years. Turnaround by Boozer not there. And Battier another rebound and a loose ball foul on Mehmet Okur.
So what do you notice in the last couple of minutes? And it was triggered by Tracy, but you get the sense that the Rockets are competing more. They're competing harder on the glass.
And the Jazz over the limit, so Battier back to the line. Utah defeating Houston in 7 games in the first round of the playoffs a year ago, winning Game 7 here, 103-99 after the home team had won the first 6.
You know, and everyone talks about the fact that they've got the best record at home this year, and they've been extraordinary. But look at what they have done on the road, Utah, since January 1st. They won at Denver. They won at Phoenix. They won at Boston. They lost to Dallas on the 3 by Dirk after he comes back from the injury. I'm telling you, if Jerry Sloan's team figures out how to win on the road, they will be a tough out because Utah at home is extraordinary.
And he talks about how young they are, and they are. They're the 4th or 5th youngest team in the NBA as Okur knocks down the jumper. And you don't think of them necessarily as being that young a team, but Ronnie Brewer's only in his 2nd year. Darren Williams only in his 3rd year. This is a bunch that's going to be around. They're going to be making some noise for years to come.
Now, Darren Williams gets better and better every year. And what's extraordinary about this lead is I don't think we've seen the best of Darren Williams yet, and they're up 10.
Scola. Nice little shake and bake over Boozer.
You're hanging around. You're Houston. Things have not gone well for you. You're experimenting with lineups, and you're only down 8.
And the crowd has stayed right in it. They haven't turned on their team at all. Okur the miss. Mutombo the rebound. McGrady wanted the lob, but couldn't connect. No eye contact with Jackson, who was then called for the double dribble. And a timeout on the floor here at the Toyota Center. We are late in the first half. It has not been pretty for the Rockets, but as Doris mentioned, they're hanging around. Boozer and McGrady's numbers in the first half right now. 2 of the stars in this game. Utah is up by 8. All right, Mark, what a start to the NBA playoffs, and there's more great coverage tomorrow. We're back here to Houston. The Jazz leading the Rockets by 8, and first-round coverage continues on ABC tomorrow as Carmelo Anthony, Allen Iverson, and the Denver Nuggets head to Los Angeles to take on Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. Coverage begins at ABC with the GMC NBA Countdown at 2:30 Eastern. The tip-off at 3 o'clock with Mike Green, Mark Jackson, Jeff Van Gundy, and Michelle Tafoya. Even as we speak, I would imagine winging their way to the West Coast in anticipation of Game 1 at the Staples Center tomorrow afternoon.
Those double overtimes might have made travel a little bit more interesting.
Darren Williams knocks down the shot. Williams now with 8, and the Utah lead is back to 10. Well, you talk about a confident, tough young man in Darren Williams. And you said it, Doris, he is getting better and better, not only year by year, month by month, you can see the growth in his game. Jackson into Scola.
Nice job by Jackson to keep his dribble just to create the angle to get Scola the shot. Now, Jackson, remember, has a ton of playoff experience in Rick Adelman's system, so that is a help with Rafer Alston out.
They were together in Sacramento. 52 previous playoff games for Jackson, 41 of them under Rick Adelman. Kirilenko wide open for 3. What a first half for Andrei Kirilenko, who has already surpassed his season scoring average.
Well, 12 points on 8 shots. This is a guy who very rarely gets into double figures in terms of shot attempts. He's more of a guy who's going to fill the stat sheet. Blocks, steals, rebounds, does a lot of different things.
Forces McGrady to give up the ball. Jackson can't get the shot off. McGrady elevates, misses the 3. Mutombo! Not a lot of lift for the 41-year-old, but he didn't need a whole lot to cram it down.
He's going against Kyle Korver. That's a little bit of a mismatch in there. The ageless wonder for all of us who are over 40. He's given us a little bit of life.
And one of the great, not only players over the last 20 years, one of the great contributors charitably, one of the great cheerleaders and teammates when he's on the bench, and a guy who's become a factor because of the injury to Yao Ming. Shot clock at 1, and they won't get it off.
Well, how many guys do you know, Dan, that could not be in the rotation at all when they have Yao Ming do this, step into the lineup and be a factor? Kyle Korver doesn't know which way to turn. Look at the guy. He's a perfectionist. And the thing you like about Dikembe Mutombo, when he wasn't in the rotation, he was always involved in the game. When you watched the Houston Rockets play, Dikembe Mutombo was always the guy on the bench, standing up, cheering his teammates, making sure he stayed involved. And that's how he's able, in Yao's absence, to step up, because he was always fully engaged.
C.J. Miles into the game for the first time, defending Shane Battier. Houston trying to close the half with a bit of a spark. That'll help. McGrady for 3.
A sleepy-eyed assassin. Look at that guy. Those eyes betray nothing, because that guy's got tons of game.
Utah can hold for the last shot of the half. Williams has it knocked away. Jackson loses the handle. Oh, he had a layup. He may have felt the footsteps of Kirilenko closing fast. And Jackson could not convert. Coming up at the Toyota halftime show, back to the studio with Mark Jones, Stephen A. Smith, and Jalen Rose, the thriller from San Antonio. Chris Paul with a big second half in the Hornets win. And LeBron with a dunk that you won't want to miss in a big first game as the Cavs beat the Wizards. Now a foul on Utah turns it back over.
Carlos Boozer put an elbow, a forearm shiver in the back of Dikembe Mutombo. Watch this. He's trying to push him up to make the catch in the basket. And instead, a foul going the other way.
And Rick Adelman wants a timeout. The argument is over whether there should be free throws or not. An offensive foul, a foul while the Jazz were in possession of the ball, so the ruling is no free throws. Luis Scola continues to argue. Nevertheless, 2 seconds for the Rockets trying to get off a shot.
And the momentum in the second half.
Well, we got to keep playing D. You know, I think we're doing a good job helping each other. We're getting some deflections. We're making T-Mac take some tough shots. He's making some of them, but we'll live with that. For us, if we continue to play good D, we'll have a chance to win in the end.
Carlos, nice first half. Thanks for your time. Dan?
And how big would it be, Heather, for the Jazz to steal one here on the road, given how tough they are to beat at home? Coming up, Mark Jones, Stephen A. Smith, Jalen Rose, the Toyota half.
Of the pick and roll. They also said we didn't match Utah's energy. We struggled with points in the paint and second chance points, all byproducts of poor rebounding, guys.
Remember, we talked about how Tracy McGrady said to us pregame, the key to beating the Jazz is to hit first. Not only did the Jazz hit the Rockets first tonight, it took the Rockets until midway through the second quarter to hit back. They were getting crushed on the glass, but then there was that timeout. Doris, they came out of the timeout. McGrady had a rebound, a basket, a steal. And for the last 6 or 7 minutes of the second quarter, the Rockets played with much better intensity.
They did, but comparatively speaking, at the start of this game, it felt like the Houston Rockets were in the corner of a boxing ring just taking body blows, especially, I mean, you just must compete on the glass. Utah, you know, under Jerry Sloan, they are tough-minded, they're aggressive, they're physical, they're going to foul you a lot, and you have got to absorb their contact and be as prepared to be physical as they are.
And there were several moments in the first half where it looked like this game might completely get away from Houston. Don't look now. Early in the second half, they're within 4. Darren Williams using the screen by Okur. Okur putting it on the floor, knocks it in from the baseline. Again, getting a little better at that, not just taking threes all the time.
Boy, if he ever adds that consistently to his arsenal, he'll be a tough check. That's 6'11" with tremendous consistency perimeter shooting.
In and out for McGrady. Mutombo with the offensive rebound. Bobby Jackson at the point for the injured Rafer Alston out with a pulled hamstring. They hope to have him back for Game 3 in Utah. Wide open, Shane Battier.
Rafer Alston, Yao Ming, the entire bench loving it. And what do you notice about Tracy? He makes that cross-court pass off the drive as well as anyone in the league because he's got great size, Dan. They can see it.
McGrady now with 5 assists. What a cut by Kirilenko and an equally sweet feed from Carlos Boozer.
Well, you look at Boozer's passing ability, and he is terrific.
14 points tonight for Kirilenko. Easily the high score for the Jazz. McGrady with the left-handed lay-in.
I've said it over and over. I mean, that's a guy who can get to the rack anytime he wants to. And like Darren Williams, he does a terrific job of switching hands when he gets close to the rack.
McGrady now with 17, the high score in the game. Darren Williams driving on Bobby Jackson. Mutombo blocks it. A little finger wag for good measure. Scola from McGrady. And a foul on Okur. The Mutombo block really energizing the crowd.
Well, twice on the pipes. This guy will get the finger wag going. He's going to send a message. There's the help defense, something that this team does very well. Actually, both teams very good, help defensive oriented. Well, this guy's so good. A little bump by Darren Williams. Welcome to the playoffs. That's the kind of foul that Jeff Van Gundy loves. Yes. Right there. He said, that's the playoffs, folks.
Mutombo almost 42, second on the NBA's all-time block shot list. And just a little subtle, not looking at the player, not taunting. Doesn't want to get a technical, but he's got to wag that finger just a little bit. Over 3,000 blocks in the career of Dikembe Mutombo. The Rockets were down double digits through much of the second quarter, now back within 2. Okur wide open. And look at the Rockets surrounding the ball now. They have done a much better job on the glass since midway through the second quarter. Remember, they gave up 10 early offensive rebounds to the Jazz. McGrady cannot shake Kirilenko. The Jazz have switched. They put Kirilenko now on McGrady. Brewer's on Battier. Jackson misses the 3. And that's the 10th rebound of the night for Boozer. Williams loses it. McGrady to Scola. High game.
You wonder if Jerry Sloan wants a timeout. I think he's probably going to get one here. That's twice in transition off defensive plays.
It'll be Houston ball. Jackson forces the Williams turnover.
I'll tell you this. Bobby Jackson has done a sensational job. This is what I was talking about. Off the defense, bounce pass. That's Tracy McGrady of 6'7", can handle with either hand. Terrific pass. Bobby Jackson deserves a ton of credit for the defensive job he's doing on Darren Williams.
The Rockets have come back from 13 down to tie it. Led by McGrady, who gets it back, switches hands, lays it in, and is fouled.
This crowd has been sensational. A 7-0 run triggered by the defense of the Houston Rockets and Tracy McGrady. Little takeover ability by the sleepy-eyed one. Gets blocked initially. Great persistence.
Number 3 on Boozer. McGrady looking for his 20th point of the night. In and out. And it'll stay with Houston. Kirilenko arguing the call. But again, I think Houston fans, the sneer on his face, him playing a little bit angry, him getting to the rim. And his passing has been beautiful tonight. 6 assists for McGrady. Scola got it back. Plenty of time. They got a fresh 24 after the free throw miss. Jackson. And Utah, Brewer finally comes down to the rebound.
Utah had complete control of the game because they had complete control of the glass. That is over because Houston has competed on the backboards.
They may not have hit first, but they have definitely started hitting back here inside the Toyota Center. Down by as many as 13, the Houston Rockets have come back to take the lead here early in the second half. Let's go back to a huddle in the second quarter. Houston coach Rick Adelman is wired.
You start getting control of the game by rebounding. You can't do it all in one possession. It can't happen all at once. You're doing the right thing, Trace. You're finding people. We just got to keep playing. Yep. Come on now.
And that's what they started doing. They started playing harder. They started rebounding. These are two coaches. Neither one's going to panic. Rick Adelman's got more than 800 wins in the NBA. Jerry Sloan more than 1,000. They've both been to the NBA Finals twice, although neither has ever won a championship. Boozer knocks down the jumper to tie it. And it took Houston about 20 minutes, actually, to get into this game. But now they're trading blows with the Utah Jazz.
I think you could make a strong case for Rick Adelman Coach of the Year because the vast majority of people gave them up for dead when Yao went out with the injury. Jackson misses the jumper. Here come the Jazz. Williams using that strength, puts the brakes on and finds Boozer. Beautifully done. But Darren Williams, 8 points. That's his 5th assist. I think Bobby Jackson's done a pretty good job. Now that time, a little bit harder for him to match up in transition. Darren Williams, of course, spending time with the Olympic team last summer in Las Vegas and figures to be, you would think, a part of the
Olympic team in Beijing this coming summer, and a better athlete than people give him credit for, and just a tremendously strong guy.
Yeah, you're not going to bump this guy off where he wants to go. He just sends Bobby Jackson flying, creates enough space, and Boozer goes right at him. That's 6'3", 208 pounds. He might be the most difficult physical matchup because Chris Paul's a little bit slighter than he is physically.
Hesitation by Williams, gets inside, the extra pass to Boozer. Mutombo recovers to force him to pick up his dribble. Shot clock at 5. Williams inside to Brewer, the follow by Boozer.
What happens when Darren Williams gets below the free throw line and keeps his dribble? You have a world of things open up for that guy. There's options all over the floor. Keep him above the free throw line.
And again, an example of him being a better athlete than people give him credit for. He can get around some people. Scola. In and out, and Mutombo is fouled. Let's check in with Heather Cox.
Guys, you just heard from Rick Adelman. Well, on the flip side, Coach Sloan's concern in the last timeout was that Houston is pushing the Jazz way too far outside the paint. They want to establish position on the low blocks and then keep it. He said you're giving up position too easy. So, Doris, look for Boozer to become more of a presence inside in the next few minutes.
Oh, yeah, well, he just went to the bench with 4th personal foul. A huge story with 6.5 to play in the 3rd.
And Scola goes right to work on his replacement. Millsap the foul.
Scola early in this season took himself out of games by getting in foul trouble. He's figured out how to defend and how to play in this league. And with Boozer, he goes right after Millsap, gets him high. I mean, he's not going to wow you with athletic ability, but he's going to wow you because he gets the job done.
Coming off back-to-back 22-point games to close the regular season, averaged 12 rebounds a game the last 3 games, became more and more important as the season went along for the Houston Rockets. Williams down in the post. Haven't seen him there all that much tonight. Kirilenko misses the shot. McGrady the rebound as Houston can tie or take the lead midway through the 3rd. Scola runs right into Millsap. Battier back to Scola, off balance and fouled again. And if it's Millsap, that will be number 4 on him. So both power forwards, Boozer and Millsap, with 4 fouls for Utah.
Well, they were wondering whether they could be effective. Well, this guy, he just has a good feel, slips the screen, sets it, and then rolls right to the rim. He's got a great understanding of how to use his body. He's not going to explode over people and dunk on you, but he's going to body up. He's going to be creative with either hand.
Scola the miss. Sunday, NASCAR is on ESPN with the Sprint Cup on an off weekend. NASCAR's top guns look to tame the 2.5-mile road course at Mexico City. The NASCAR Nationwide Series at Mexico City presented by Kawasaki on ESPN Sunday afternoon. Coverage begins with NASCAR Countdown at 1:30 Eastern. So Millsap out. And Matt Harpring is our next contestant to try to defend Luis Scola.
Well, to Heather's point, if there's a guy who's going to be a warrior and fight for position, that's Matt Harpring.
Harpring wearing a brace on his right knee. He had some major surgery 2 years ago, a cleanup procedure this past summer. Got off to a bit of a late start, missed the preseason. Has it swatted away. Guess who?
See, I think Hayes coming in from Mutombo, and he's saying, stay there. Look at this. Look what I can do, Coach. Keep me in. Twice on the pipes.
He is something else. And he tried, as you said, he tried to talk his way into staying in this game. He didn't win that argument, but his consolation prize is a standing ovation.
Well, he could be a politician. He's certainly a world-class philanthropist, and now he's looking to coach.
And you know what? Who can deny him? A one-point game. Let's go Rockets is the deafening chant here inside the Toyota Center. Game 1 of a rematch from a year ago when the Jazz beat the Rockets in 7 as Kirilenko fouls McGrady. And especially here in the 3rd quarter, Doris, there's been no settling for jump shots from Tracy McGrady.
I think Rockets fans love to see it because at 6'7", with the handle he has, as you see Millsap and Boozer, He could take a seat for quite some time with those 4 personal fouls. This is a guy who can get to the rack anytime he wants.
That's already the 5th team foul this quarter on Utah. And the free throw attempts, Doris, the next one for McGrady will be the 19th in the game for Houston. Utah's only been to the line 3 times all night long. And Utah's got some pretty major foul trouble right here. Scola just got away with trying to reach out and grab Harper. Scola's the guy who got Boozer and Millsap into foul trouble. Williams inside.
Now, we were wondering about that in the first half because there is absolutely no way they can guard him down around the box. He's simply too strong, understands how to use his body. Let's see, do the Jazz go to Williams on the box now?
10 points, 6 assists for Darren Williams. Kirilenko given the task of defending McGrady. McGrady turns the corner into Scola. Kirilenko altered the shot, and an offensive foul is called on Scola. Number 3 on him.
Well, you can't use the left arm to clear space, so this is a... Oof, he does. He uses it. Given as good as he gets, certainly.
How about the length of Kirilenko altering that shot after Scola had left his feet? Kirilenko over McGrady. A big night for Andre Kirilenko.
There was a time where he was unhappy. He wasn't playing terrific. He certainly wasn't shooting it as well as he did early. Now, AK-47 has got the bullets in the pocket tonight.
He's been an all-star. He's been an all-league defensive player as Hayes fumbles the pass out of bounds. There have been about 3 of those for the Rockets tonight where they had easy points literally slip through their fingers.
Now, what do they say about the playoff stand? Possession by possession. That's what Rick Adelman was talking about before the game. In this circumstance, every possession is important.
Darren Williams thriving in the pick-and-roll system of Jerry Sloan. Korver misses the shot. And which way is it going to go? As the officials confer, and it will stay with the Jazz.
Boy, if there was ever evidence of how important possession by possession, it was the Suns and Spurs today.
Yeah.
You know, think about, they come out of that timeout. Finley goes off a stagger screen, gets that 3. Duncan gets a 3.
Yeah, if you had Duncan hitting a 3 to force overtime in the office pool, good on you. What a game. Yeah, the Cleveland-Washington game went right down to the wire. The 7-point ending does not really do justice to how close the game was. And Dallas had a big lead over New Orleans in the first half. The Hornets roared back and won it with a great second half. Scola is called for the block, and that is number 4 on him.
So you have the right idea. This guy knows how to play the game. He tries to make the anticipation. It is a very good call.
Yeah. And we have a timeout on the floor. Well, in many ways, Luis Scola has been the dominant performer in this game, affecting it at both ends of the floor. Game 1 of this Western Conference first-round series between the number 4 seed Utah Jazz, number 5 Houston. The Rockets getting home court by virtue of a better regular season record. Time now to take a look at tonight's GMC game track. The Jazz with a double-figure lead through parts of the first half. Back have come the Rockets. They actually took the lead briefly, but now they are down by 4. Andre Kirilenko having a nice game for Utah. Tracy McGrady playing very well. 20.6 assists and 6 rebounds for the Houston Rockets. Some of the big stories in the NBA this season, some of the headlines in just a great regular season for the NBA. The Boston Celtics with the single biggest turnaround in league history. Wound up with the best record in the NBA. How about these Rockets? Won 22 in a row, second longest win streak in league history. The last 10 after Yao was injured. And it was a wild, wild West. All 8 playoff teams winning 50 or more games, separated 1 through 8 by just 7 games. The Rockets went from 10th to tied for first in the 22-game winning streak, wound up number 5. And the standings changed night by night in the Western Conference.
An extraordinary run without Yao Ming. To be on that much of a roll, lose that guy, and continue to defend possession by possession like the Rockets did and have done in this period was huge. What a great story. Now, You think about the teams that have had those kinds of streaks. 3 of them have won championships.
And certainly, as we said to Tracy McGrady this morning, 99.9% of people thought after Yao was hurt, the Rockets probably would not make the postseason. As Jackson knocks it down, McGrady corrected us. He said, no, not 99.9%. 100% of people thought the Rockets were done. Jackson's jumper makes it a 2-point game. Steve Novak in for the first time tonight for Houston, number 20. A great outside shooter, as is Kyle Korver of the Utah Jazz.
Well, what an answer. And their numbers since his addition have been extraordinary. Jerry Sloan, not a guy who values the three-point shot necessarily. He doesn't mind you taking it, provided it's in the context of the offense and you've got rebounders in position.
Carl Landry has replaced Scola, who's got 4 fouls. Remember, Boozer and Millsap each with 4 and on the bench for the Jazz. McGrady over Korver. Landry runs down the loose ball. That, in a nutshell, right there, is why Rick Adelman is so high on the rookie out of Purdue.
Well, those were the kinds of things that the Jazz were getting in the first half and that the Rockets have gotten here in the second.
Jackson for 3. Rebound Harpring. Boy, with Harpring and Landry and Hayes, you got some scrappers in the game right now. Kirilenko the screen. Williams goes the other way, and it's a clean block. 5 on 4 now. Williams just getting back up. Novak wide open. What a rebound by Hayes. McGrady trying to take Korver. Nice feed. And Okoro with a block shot on Landry. Korver, quick release again, and his second big bucket in the last couple of minutes.
That guy could flat out shoot it. And in transition, people had run the floor, so they had rebounders in position should he not make that shot.
All of a sudden, the lead back up to 8 for the Jazz here in Game 1 in Houston. McGrady. And Korver comes back and blocks the shot. The second unit for the Jazz, Harpring, Millsap, Korver, outstanding tonight. Final seconds of the third quarter, and a Utah foul will send the Rockets to the line. Mehmet Okur called for the foul. Number 3 on him. And to the line will go Carl Landry, as mentioned, the rookie out of Purdue. Doris, in the first 39 games this year, he played in 3 of them. Second half of the year, just with his energy, athleticism, rebounding, he became a real factor in their rotation.
Well, he catapulted above Hayes because he's a better offensive player.
First round coverage of the NBA playoffs continues on ABC tomorrow. It is Game 1 between the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers. Coverage beginning with the GMC NBA countdown at 2:30 Eastern, and then the tip-off just after 3. The NBA playoffs first round on ABC tomorrow at 3. Your NBA destination. The Nuggets, a fascinating team. They can score with anybody. Defense, another story. Gasol playing just great for the Lakers. Kobe's on a mission, going to be some kind of a series.
Allen Iverson, second all-time, 30 points per game in the playoffs.
Williams is fouled on a strong drive into the lane. Williams has spent a considerable amount of time down on the deck tonight. Not shying away from the big bodies on the inside.
And how many times have we seen him this year use that crossover and multiple crossovers to get by guys and then use that upper body strength to either get here to the free throw line or get some and ones.
Let's check out the drive from about a minute ago when again he went right to the rim.
Well, what do you know this? You get help defense because the crossover is sensational. He blows right by Jackson, but look at them converge. And this is what they did during that streak. They guarded hard. They helped each other win games.
Utah, a better offensive team during the season. Houston, as Doris mentioned, a better defensive team. And that kept him in a lot of games, even after the injury to Yao. The third quarter comes to a close with the Jazz on the road holding an 8-point lead. They finish the third quarter on an 11-3 run. And Kyle Korver coming up with some big plays at both ends of the floor for the Utah Jazz, knocking down a couple of threes for the Jazz and blocking Tracy McGrady. A Rick Adelman interview when we come back. But first, back to the studio. Let's rejoin Mark Jones.
Back in the Toyota Center with Houston, Rick Adelman, and Coach, Utah's Kirilenko with 16 points. Kyle Korver back-to-back threes. How do you guys better defend the perimeter in the fourth?
Well, we made mistakes. You can't make mistakes. We made mistakes defensively and offensively. And we went under on Korver. You're supposed to trail him. You just got to get to it. Every time you make minimal mistakes, they take advantage of it. And we have to finish at the basket.
You told us that you wanted to beat Utah at Utah's game by being more physical, more aggressive. How satisfied are you with that effort so far?
It's not happening. We got to do a better job.
Coach, thanks for your time. Dan, back to you.
All right, Heather, thank you. It happened for a while, but then the Jazz got the upper hand late in the third quarter thanks in part to 2 threes and a block from Kyle Korver after the trade with Philadelphia. Look at the record for the Utah Jazz. Only the Rockets had a better record over that span. A great shooter, spreads the floor and allows Williams and Abuzer to do their thing with a little more freedom.
Well, put Okoro on one side of the floor with Korver on the opposite end, and then those two guys in the middle of the floor with a pick and roll. You got a world of options.
Kirilenko driving on Steve Novak.
And then you got that guy for whom they really don't run a lot of plays. You know, he just gets to the box, feels like he's got a good matchup, spins off, and scores it.
Suddenly it's back to 10 after the Rockets not only got back into it, actually took the lead briefly in the third quarter. Brooks inside. Landry with a slam.
There you see Aaron Brooks able to get off the dribble drive and put your help defense at a premium and a good finish. Landry has got some ups.
Again, with depleted depth for Houston, 2 rookies and a second-year player in the game right now. Landry and Brooks are the rookies. Novak, a second-year player who hasn't played all that much. That dunk notwithstanding, the second unit for the Jazz has still had its way with the second unit for the Rockets outscoring them 23-9. A look at the brackets in the ever-competitive Western Conference. The Lakers and Nuggets will meet tomorrow. Coverage begins at 2:30 Eastern with a pregame show on ABC. San Antonio and Phoenix in as good a game as you can see, worthy of Game 7 of a conference final. It was Game 1 of the first round. Tim Duncan, a monster game as the Spurs went in double overtime. Hard to believe they might play 6 more at that level of intensity, but it might work out that way.
Just extraordinary basketball. I think Steve Nash wants that possession back late in the game where the shot clock expired. That is a mistake you never see Steve Nash make.
The other game, the one right before us, a great second half for Chris Paul and the Hornets to beat Dallas in Game 1 of their series. Landry is fouled, and again another active, athletic body. And Landry will head to the line. Let's update you on the Eastern Conference here on day 1 of the NBA playoffs. The first game today, you may have seen on ESPN earlier today, Cleveland winning 93-86. LeBron with 32 as they beat the Wizards. And then 3 Eastern Conference games tomorrow. Boston, Atlanta, Orlando, Toronto, and Detroit against an intriguing Philadelphia 76ers team. A very young athletic group, had a great second half, went 22-12 in their last 34 games to get into the playoffs.
I love Mo Cheeks. When I was a kid, I dreamed to be a Mo Cheeks. Right? They got no shot in that series.
Oh, really?
I just don't see it. I mean, Detroit is too good a team. They're efficient. They've got a ton of playoff experience.
Nine-point lead for the Jazz. Darren Williams back in for Ronnie Price at the point. And Brooks giving up a lot of size in this matchup. Kirilenko takes a bump from Novak. Novak is a great shooter, but can struggle at times as a defender. He's 6'10", but really a 3, and struggles with quicker, more athletic people at that position.
Yeah, he's on the floor to make shots right now, but obviously that's the end they're going to try to take advantage of. Let's see if they attack him here on this possession.
And they're trying to. Kirilenko again. Shot clock at 7. Boozer from the elbow. Off the rim and into the hands of Landry. You can see the quickness on Brooks trying to get away from Williams, who does a good job staying with him. Battier can't get Kirilenko in the air. Landry over Harpring, around and out, rebound Boozer. 13th rebound of the night for Carlos Boozer.
Everything with the finish for Landry. He had him on his hip pocket. He got him underneath the orange.
And a kick ball there. And they'll reset the shot clock to 14 as Tracy McGrady enters for Houston. You can see the career numbers for McGrady. One of the themes of the game, of the series, really. One of the things we talked about off the top. McGrady never getting to the second round. 0-6. 1 with Toronto, 3 with Orlando, 2 with Houston. Yet almost without fail, his playoff numbers have been better than his regular season numbers. And he has never played on a team seeded 1 through 4. He's always been on a team seeded 5 through 8.
Look at that.
Williams with a deep 3.
Well, you know what? They didn't have to put him on the box. He just simply shoots over Brooks. He's just got so much size. That's an easy three-point attempt. That's a guy who's almost 40% from deep.
14 points, 9 assists for Darren Williams. Battier driving on Kirilenko and is fouled. Let's check in with Heather Cox.
Well, we see what Darren Williams is doing. Hard to believe he's actually playing not 100%. He's got that bruised, what we call a bruised tailbone. It's really an SI joint in that lower back. He said, I'm definitely slowed down by it. It's hard to push off. I see openings. I can't get to them because I can't push off. I can't explode like I'm used to, and it's definitely affecting my game. And Doris, I see that he's changing his game and using strengths in a different way tonight than he did in previous games.
Yeah, I mean, when you watch him on tape, this is a guy whose crossover is sensational. He gets in little gaps, and he's able to attack with his body. But that last possession, Aaron Brooks, who's given up some size, he gives him a little bit of a cushion. It's an easy jump shot. Right there, probably the 3 point guards. Most people would agree right now with the 3 best point guards in the NBA. And Paul Nash and Williams, 1, 2, 3 in the league in assists as Battier makes 1 of 2. Houston is getting to the line, but they are struggling from the line. 15 of 25 tonight. Williams has managed the second half. Skoll is back into the game for Houston. He's got 4 fouls. Harpring the air ball. Hayes the rebound, and here comes McGrady. I think he needs to take over from a scoring standpoint now. He's got his teammates involved. And they can use him to get off on the offensive end. Battier draws the double team. Jackson behind the back, right at Darren Williams. And a one-handed rebound ripped down by Carlos Boozer. Again, I'll go back to Tracy McGrady. I think he's got to take the majority of shots from this point forward. A great cut by Harpring, and he draws the foul. A timeout on the floor. The Rockets got back into it, took the lead, but now it's all Utah with the lead back to 11 for the Jazz. Now, the Lakers have played so well after the trade for Gasol, Mark, in spite of the continued absence of Bynum. The Jazz have played so well thanks to the absolute stardom of Darren Williams. Let's go way back in time to the 5th grade for Darren Williams. And if we ignore for the moment that the 2 people around him in the yearbook, that one wanted to be an actress biologist, you don't see that as much nowadays, and the young man underneath him apparently didn't have a future. Darren Williams knew in the 5th grade he wanted to be an NBA superstar. You know what? Think back. Coming out of high school from the Colony, Texas, near Dallas, came out alongside Bracy Wright, who went to Indiana. Bracy Wright got more hype, more pub than Darren Williams did at that time. Going to Illinois, Darren Williams shared the spotlight with Dee Brown and Luther Head to a certain extent as well. But now, I mean, to say he's come into his own in the NBA is not doing justice to what he did in high school and college. But he has become a superstar at the NBA level. He has lived up to his 5th grade dreams in just his 3rd year in the league. When a guy who has coached John Stockton says that Darren Williams' basketball IQ is as good as anyone he's coached, I don't think anything more needs to be said. Yeah. When the all-time league assist leader, John Stockton, spent so many years playing for Coach Sloan. McGrady double-teamed in the post.
And Kirilenko comes down with a rebound. Kirilenko, just a tough matchup because of his length.
Tracy's 7 for 19, but again, I still go run my offense through him. He's got to touch it. I think he could attack off the bounce, back to the basket, whatever he does. Tracy can take over a game like LeBron, like Kobe.
Williams to Boozer, something that will be said thousands more times over the next decade or so. 10 assists now for Darren Williams. And Utah now has its largest lead of the night. We're up 13 in the second quarter. Houston came all the way back to take the lead. And now Utah's not only grabbed the lead back, but extended it all the way to 15. Battier, quick trigger on the three.
They needed that one.
16 now for Battier. The deficit is a dozen for the Rockets.
Darren Williams, from the end of the third period into this fourth, has just managed the second half beautifully. And they go pick and roll again.
And he draws the foul, just lowering that shoulder. And Bobby Jackson called for the foul.
Rick Adelman was asked about the comparison between Stockton and Malone with Boozer and Williams. He said, I'm not prepared to go there yet. But I will say this about Williams. What he does share with John Stockton, his singular purpose is winning basketball games.
A fierce competitor, plays the game with, I don't know if a chip on his shoulder is a little bit too strong, but just a great competitive nature. As the first free throw rims out, the NBA calendar on TNT tomorrow. Coverage begins at noon. The tip-off just after 12:30 on TNT. Game 1 between the Raptors and Magic, followed by Philadelphia, Detroit at 6 o'clock, and then Atlanta at Boston at 8:30. ABC tomorrow afternoon. Coverage begins at 2:30 Eastern. Then it's Game 1, the Nuggets and Lakers just after 3, and then NBA TV on Tuesday. Game 2 between Toronto and an Orlando team nobody talks about. A team that won over 50 games, finished third in the conference, and not being given a whole lot of attention heading into the postseason. Scola with the offensive rebound.
Might have gotten away with a push, Scola.
He's got some tricks up his sleeve.
Yes.
We have seen that already tonight.
Look at Harpring. Keep Tracy McGrady in front.
And McGrady almost turned it over, and it will wind up in a foul call going against the Rockets.
Boy, terrific job by Matt Harpring to do a stellar job keeping Tracy McGrady in front, forcing him to be a passer and getting the turnover. I mean, look at this. This is just down and dirty defense. Keep him in front. Stay in a stance. That is not easy to do. Makes him a passer, and it's a tough pass because everybody's in held position, weak side. Foul on Scola.
Yeah, wrapping up the arm of Kirilenko, number 5 on Scola, and also the 15th foul on the Rockets. So Kirilenko to the line for the Jazz.
Does that not show you why Jerry Sloan is a huge Matt Harpring fan?
Yep. If you'll do the dirty work, if you'll get down in a defensive stance, you'll get some minutes with Jerry Sloan. And think again of how big a win would be tonight here for Utah. The best home team in the NBA this season. The Jazz 37-4 at home. If they can steal a game here in Houston, then the Rockets know in order to advance, they'll have to win a game in Salt Lake City. Now, they were one of the 4 teams to win there during the regular season way back in early November when Tracy McGrady had 47. But it's a very, very difficult thing to do. Scola, and a block by Kirilenko. What a night he is having.
He's, I think, their best help defender. Because of his length, he blocks a lot of shots on other people's man.
Under 6 to go in the fourth, and the Jazz up by 14 as we send you back to Mark Jones. A great fourth quarter for the Utah Jazz as they have extended their lead over the Houston Rockets to 14 here, under 6 minutes to play in regulation. Carlos Boozer, Darren Williams, pick and roll, the feed, the bucket. They make it look so easy sometimes.
Well, you think about the 2 guys who did this for Jerry Sloan early in his career, and everyone knew in the building the pick and roll was coming. It didn't matter because John Stockton was sensational. The comparisons have been drawn. Darren Williams, a sensational pass, the finish inside to Boozer. You know, they're not there yet, but what does this franchise do? They build with the pieces that fit into Jerry Sloan's half-court offense. 269
Williams to Boozer assists and buckets during the regular season, and a handful more already here tonight. Battier with his second three in the last couple of minutes. And the Rockets need all they can get right now. 19 for Battier.
Yeah, the Rockets are a team that 21% of their possessions, they get a three-point shot off. It's a huge part of what they do without Yao.
Nice cut underneath the bucket, and Harpring lays it in on the feed from Kirilenko. Say, Andre Kirilenko has had some kind of a night. Trading buckets not good enough right now for Houston. Nearly turned over. Shot clock at 6. Kirilenko right in Battier's grill. Shot clock at 2. Brooks. And a shot clock violation on Houston.
A couple of great defensive series by the Utah Jazz. Contested shots. Harpring, we showed you him earlier, keeping Tracy McGrady in front. He cannot trade twos, and the disparity in paint points has been huge because the Rockets, their philosophy is not to give up any paint points. No easy twos. 44-34, 10-point advantage.
Under 5 to go in the fourth quarter. Boozer, just too big and strong for Carl Landry.
Well, make the disparity 12 now because that's 46 paint points.
So Rick Adelman needing to try to come back and to get into this game, trying to put his best offensive unit out there. That means Scola and Landry, no Mutombo, but that means Boozer's got a strength advantage over whoever's guarding him, and the frustration setting in for McGrady and company here as everything to score the time working against them.
And remember, 78% of the time, the winner of Game 1 goes on to win the series.
And remember again, the Jazz, the best home team in the NBA. So if Utah wins here, Houston will have to win one in Salt Lake City. Korver had it knocked away. Here comes McGrady. Luther head into the game. Houston goes even smaller. Battier with yet another three. 7 for 7, 22 points.
Guy plays every possession like it's his last.
As does Darren Williams, coast to coast.
Too easy.
Third year in the league. How good is he going to be? Already one of the best point guards in the NBA. Brooks the miss. Boozer, another rebound, his 16th.
Well, Williams actually is bleeding from his lip, but it was Harpring, his own teammate, I think, who made the contact on him.
3.5 to go.
Now you manage the clock, and look at Williams directing traffic. Unlike Stockton, who didn't want to call the plays, Williams is the one who calls the plays.
Yeah, Jerry Sloan telling us that Williams wants to be the quarterback out there a lot more than Stockton. Stockton more content to look over to the bench and have Coach Sloan call the play. And Jerry Sloan says there are times where he and Darren Williams don't always see eye to eye, but that's when Jerry Sloan, again, is very quick to point out how intelligent Darren Williams is with his basketball IQ off the charts and how comfortable he is letting Darren Williams run the offense.
He actually will tell you he does a better job than he does sometimes. More and more responsibility. I'll tell you the other trait he shares with John Stockton. Chris Paul is terrific with the media. You don't get the feeling Darren Williams cares about media attention. And John Stockton was the same way. I'm telling you, the guy just wants to win.
Remember, this is a team that a year ago beat Houston in 7, then beat Golden State, and then lost to San Antonio in the Western Conference Finals. They have had a taste of some pretty big things already in the postseason. Scola misses the reverse, follows it up, and lays it in again. 14 and 12 tonight for Luis Scola. This is also a Utah team, and again, this is just game 1 of the first round. 38 and 12 in their last 50. Some big wins against some top teams in the Western Conference, most of them at home. But this is one of the teams, when you talk to opposing coaches, said, man, I don't want a piece of those guys in the playoffs. They're playing as well as anybody entering the postseason. Brooks is fouled and will go to the line when we come back from a timeout. The Utah Jazz seemingly on their way to a road win here in game 1 of this series. when you're painting a room. Dan Schulman, Doris Burke back with you in Houston. The story tonight, though, has been the Utah Jazz on their way to a huge road win.
Well, I think when you look, they've been the best team since the new year in the league, and they're better on the road after the new year than they were early. And I know that's a big part of everyone's story about this team, the disparity between the home wins, road wins. They won in Boston, in Phoenix, in Denver, and in Houston back on January 27th, before the streak started for Houston. So I'm telling you, I think the knock against them on the road is maybe a little bit overplayed, especially with what they've done later in the year.
Had a stretch just a week and a half ago where in consecutive games they held San Antonio to 64 points and New Orleans to 66 points. They can buckle down on defense even though they are known more as a good offensive team. They weathered the storm here tonight. The Rockets overcame a 13-point deficit, took the lead in the third quarter, and then it evaporated just as quickly. Boozer trying to jam it in over Scola. Brooks getting a lot of minutes tonight off the bench for the Rockets, and again with that extra gear gets by his defender and draws the foul. Well, look at the leading scorers tonight for the Jazz, and Andrei Kirilenko right from the outset has been a terrific addition in the scoring department of Carlos Boozer and Darren Williams. You expect Boozer and Williams to put up the numbers, but not necessarily Kirilenko.
You think about how few times Darren Williams went off the dribble in the first period, and we go back to what Heather talked about with the injury that he had. Bruised his tailbone, to put it as succinctly as we possibly can. That allowed Kirilenko some freedom in that first period to get loose on the offensive end.
Game 2 Monday night here in Houston. Nearing the final 2 minutes. Utah with the ball and an 11-point lead. Now Williams sneaks down to the post. Boozer has it knocked away. Korver is fouled by Brooks and will go to the line. A 90% plus free throw shooter. The Jazz getting better after the acquisition of Korver as Harpring got healthier. Darren Williams took his game up another notch in the month of March, averaged better than 13 assists per game.
We've missed some free throws here in the fourth period. And remember, Shane Battier has hit some threes. Now, you do not have to go exclusively to threes, but you need efficient possessions if you're the Houston Rockets. Advance it quickly. And you can, if you're Tracy, you can go right to the rim and maybe pitch to a three-point shooter.
1 of 2 for Korver. Brooks hustles it down the floor. Brooks inside, lays it in with the left hand. Remember, with Alston hurt, Jackson starting, Brooks coming off the bench, but earning himself more minutes. Some pressure by the Rockets, and the Jazz break it.
Yeah, they are just electing to go on their defense and make some stops, not yet electing to foul.
Look at Darren Williams giving the official Ron Garrettson a piece of his mind after Brooks slapped at him. Boozer.
Empty possessions, giving the Rockets a chance. Tracy McGrady yet to score here in the fourth period.
Precious seconds ticking away. Rebound Korver on the miss by Brooks.
Don't get the ball.
Novak's going to come back into the game now for Houston. As we near the final minute, and the Jazz will run off as much time as they can. And now finally McGrady commits the foul. And heads right to the bench. Novak and Harris back in for the Rockets. And it looks like that's going to be all as far as Rick Adelman is concerned. Battier's out. Lauren Woods will come in for the first time tonight, and Rick Adelman will turn his attention ahead to game number 2. Scola out as well. Well, the team that wins game 1 wins 78% of the time historically, Doris, in a best-of-7 series. And when you're the best home team in the league, which the Jazz are, I would think you might add a few percent to that even.
Yeah, that's as good an environment as there is in the league for Jerry Sloan and his team. Because they're a young team, he would tell you we get a lot of energy from the home crowd. Because of our youth, maybe not as tough as we need to be on the road. I thought they showed great toughness tonight.
Got off to a quick start. Got a nice lead in the first quarter, and then their bench, again, Harpring, Korver, and Millsap did a great job tonight for the Jazz. There's Harpring again, sticking his nose in there, coming up with a steal. And the Rockets will let the time tick away. Utah is going to get out of here with a road win and take a 1-0 lead in the best-of-7. SportsCenter is next here on ESPN. Williams off the glass and good.
What a second half he managed for the Utah Jazz. Masterful with the clock, masterful with possessions when they had to have good ones.
20 points, 10 assists, Doris, tonight for Darren Williams. Lauren Woods jams it home for the Rockets.
As expected, the offensive end of the floor was a major challenge. Houston could not put it together, under 40% on the night.
And 3 Jazz, Kirilenko, Boozer, and Williams, each with 20 or more points. Tracy McGrady's Rockets will need to find a way to win in Salt Lake City to have any chance of taking this series. Utah shoots 52%, and Jerry Sloan's team wins 93-82. A road win for the Jazz here at the Toyota Center over the Houston Rockets.